Hello, hello, hello. Sorry about that. That was a little audio bloop. My name is Patrice Williams. I'm here with Turning Point, and we are excited to be here today to talk about diabetes awareness. We have my good friend, Kirbee Brooks. She is going to be coming in. I heard her presentation a month or two ago, and I knew then that I wanted to have her on, and I'm going to bring her up right now. There you are.
I'm here.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. I saw you a few months ago doing your latest presentation to Seroptimus Vallejo. Hello to the ladies of Seroptimus Vallejo. I miss seeing them every Monday at noon. But you blew me away at your presentation. Before that, before you went virtual, I saw you at different events. I would go to different community outreach events, and you would be out there talking and making those in-person connections. But I love how you are interacting with the community virtually, and I just feel really honored to have you on.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. I'm going to toot your horn a little bit and give people a little bit of your bio. Kirbee Brooks, experienced public health professional with a demonstrated history of working in the government and healthcare industries, skilled in health policy analysis, program planning and implementation, place-based interventions, and managed care processes. Strong community advocate and social service professional with a master's degree focused in public health from Loma Linda University.
Right. Southern California girl.
Yes, yes. And you are with Solano County. You are the senior health education specialist.
Yes, I am.
Well, I am really excited to have you. I want to introduce you to our live stream. For anyone that is watching live, we have a lot of people that watch live, and then we have from different platforms, LinkedIn and Facebook and YouTube. And now we're connected to Twitter. And I'm not sure if we're on Instagram yet, but if not, it'll be soon. So it's an integrated chat. So no matter what platform people are listening from, we can all, me and you, will be able to see them and interact. And of course, Lisa is up first, and she is welcoming you to our platform, Turning Point with Patrice. And we just have, we have my sister-in-law. Awesome subject. This hits home for us since Andre. She has a young guy at home, and he was diagnosed with type 1 in May. So I think that's called childhood diabetes. Is
right? Yeah.
Juvenile diabetes.
Yep.
Right, right. So yay, good to see you, Penny. Oh my goodness. I haven't seen you in person in a long time. My husband likes to take chances and gone over to his brother's house. He said nothing's gonna keep him for his brother and sister. But I don't know. I'm real careful about it. So, and then our team at Empower Solano says, that they are grateful to you and your dedication to Solano County residents in good health. And by the way, if you're not in Solano County, this is still going to be, you're going to get some great and relevant information. So we're repping Solano County, but this is information that we all need. Okay. So with that, should I pull, is there anything you want to add before we bring up your presentation? Why do you do this work?
I just want to agree first with what you said about this information is relevant to everyone, even outside of Solano County. Diabetes is impacting health across the nation, across the world. and it's becoming an epidemic. And I know it's kind of scary to hear about an epidemic in the midst of a pandemic, but diabetes is an epidemic. Um, Over 55% of people in California have diabetes, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And so I think it's really important to get this information out into the community. And I think why I do this work is because it's 100% preventable. We can prevent diabetes. And I think that we have to have the relevant information in order to do so. And it can save lives. So this is life-saving information.
It's life-saving information. Okay, let's pull up your presentation. That's a good cue up.
Yes. Well, thank you all so much for having me, and thank you everyone for tuning in. I just want to talk to you today about diabetes awareness. Again, like Ms. Patrice mentioned, I am a health education specialist with Solano County Public Health. I'm also a master trainer for the National Diabetes Prevention Program, which is a year-long course to help people learn how they can make lifestyle changes to prevent diabetes and to manage diabetes if they do have the condition. Okay.
Thank you.
So what is diabetes? Diabetes is a chronic health condition that affects how your body turns food into energy. So when we consume food, when we eat anything, it turns to sugar in our body. And then our cells need that sugar to function properly. I'm sure many of us have had periods of time where we haven't eaten anything and we feel really low energy, but that's because our body is lacking that sugar that it needs to function. And so diabetes is a chronic condition that affects how your body actually uses that sugar or the food in our body. And because of this malfunction, I'll call it, or condition of diabetes, it can result in high levels of sugar in your blood. So if your body's not using that food that you're eating properly, if it's not converting that sugar into energy, that sugar starts to build up in your bloodstream, which is diabetes, and it can cause damage to your blood vessels, which we'll talk about in just another slide.
Okay.
So the most common types of diabetes is type 1 diabetes, like we just heard from Penny. What's important to know about type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease. And so usually this is something that's diagnosed in younger people. And it's basically a malfunction of your pancreas, where your pancreas doesn't, I'm sorry, I'm saying the right word, pancreas, yeah. It doesn't produce the insulin that's needed to convert that sugar into energy. Therefore, the sugar just starts to build up in your blood. So again, it's a malfunction of the organ because your immune system is attacking that organ, causing it not to produce the insulin. So that's why it's considered autoimmune disease. It's something your immune system is attacking that organ, causing it not to produce the insulin that's needed to interact with the sugar in your blood. And then there's type 2 diabetes, which is most common form of diabetes, mostly diagnosed in adults. And this is usually due to genetics and environmental or lifestyle factors. And so we're going to talk about some of those lifestyle factors in just a moment. But it's important to know, type 2 diabetes is the most common form of diabetes, and a lot of it has to do with our lifestyle. Okay. One thing I also want to note, though, about type 2 diabetes, which is becoming really a concern to us in public health, is that youth are now being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes as well. We used to just see youth being diagnosed with type 1, but now we're seeing more and more youth being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And this is simply due to their environment, staying indoors more, not being as active, the type of foods that they're consuming, the sugar sweetened beverages, the extra chips, the Takis, things like that they're eating, and they're sitting around playing video games or on the computer. We're seeing that shift in environment of our youth, which is causing them to we're seeing more of a diagnosis of type 2 diabetes versus just type 1. And then prediabetes is it is a diagnosis. It's a condition when someone is borderline diabetic. And so this is when your physician will start to talk to you about the lifestyle changes that you can make so that you can prevent a diagnosis of diabetes or type 2 diabetes.
And that's me.
Okay.
So that's why, anything that I'm learning or want to know about, I bring them right to the show. So I just was diagnosed as pre-diabetic, and I need to get my whole act together. So if anybody's pre-diabetic, you're not alone. Raise your hand in the chat. So go ahead, Kirbee, but thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem. I know that you're not alone, and we're going to look at some of the stats in a moment. There's so many people that are currently living with pre-diabetes, but you can prevent diabetes. You're at the point where you can make those lifestyle changes that can reduce the chance of developing diabetes or slow the onset of type 2 diabetes. Okay. And so then also the last type is gestational diabetes, which is this is for women who are pregnant, sometimes can be diagnosed with gestational diabetes. This has a lot to do with maybe their level of weight gain, their lifestyle habits, their level of activity, the weight of the baby, the food that they're consuming, things like that could lead to a diagnosis of gestational diabetes. But what's important to know about this is gestational diabetes does subside or go away usually after a woman gives birth. But that baby now has an increased chance of developing type 2 diabetes in the future.
And wow.
Woman.
I didn't know that. I had gestational diabetes. So now I need to be careful with my son, Miles.
Right, absolutely. And Miles is young and he's probably more active, but as he ages, he could again without those right lifestyle or environmental factors introduced, he's already has an increased risk of type 2 diabetes.
Wow. Okay. This is slide 1. I feel like I've learned a whole lot.
Yeah, and there's so much more. But again, this is why we have to share this information. And this is why it's important for, people who are pregnant as well, too, to still be careful with what they eat, still try to remain somewhat active so that they don't develop gestational diabetes because it could have a longer term impact.
Wow.
And so here I just wanted to show you an image of what is actually happening in your body when we talk about diabetes and what is diabetes. And I find that when I explain what's happening to your blood vessels, people tend to understand a little bit better what diabetes is, and they seem more inclined to make those lifestyle changes. So like I talked about in the first slide or two, when we eat food, it turns to sugar. It's converted to sugar in our body, which is also known as glucose here. Glucose enters our bloodstream. Our cells need to consume this sugar in our bloodstream for energy. Cells make up every single part of our body. All of our organs are made of cells. Our skin are made of cells. Every functioning part of our body is made up of cells, and these cells use the sugar in our blood to function as energy. When sugar is introduced into our bloodstream, it triggers our pancreas to release insulin into our bloodstream as well. We have to think about insulin, which is a hormone. Insulin is a key. It's the key that our cells need to let glucose or sugar into our cells for energy, right? So insulin is a key. So it unlocks the cell doors. Think of it that way. It unlocks our cell doors, and then our cells welcome that glucose in. But sometimes with our lifestyle, we consume a lot of sugar at one time in one day. We're not as active, and we have a lot of sugar, glucose coming into our body. We're consuming too many calories, right, in a day. We have a lot of sugar coming into our bloodstream that our pancreas can't keep up with the amount of insulin it needs to produce in order to act as that key to let the sugar in our cells. So our pancreas is like, hey, I'm overloaded. You're eating way too much sugar. I don't have enough keys to unlock all of the cell doors to let this sugar in. And so it kind of just shuts down. You think about a key and a door lock. What happens if you have a key and you're always shoving that key in the lock and trying to open the lock? It strips the lock eventually, right? And it just doesn't work. So think of that analogy when you're thinking about insulin working as a key for our cell doors. With overuse and overuse and overuse and overuse, we develop something called insulin resistance. And that happens because we have too much sugar in our bloodstream to produce the amount of insulin we need, which is the keys to open up the door so that our cells can consume that glucose. So what happens if we don't have the insulin, the key to open up the door to our cells, the sugar just builds up in your bloodstream. So then before we know it, we just have an overload of sugar, high blood sugar levels in our bloodstream.
Now, can we flush this out with like water, or can it be flushed out of your system?
I'm glad you asked that question, because a lot of people think it's the sugar that's just sitting there. It's a buildup, it's a clog. That's not really what it is. The sugar actually damages our blood vessels. So you think about a scarring. Have you ever got a scratch or a cut or something? What happens? It starts to heal, and there's a scab, but then the scab falls off, and maybe the skin has a little imperfection, or maybe it's a little raised or something like that, like I'm gonna call wilted, but it's the skin may be raised a little bit, maybe like still a lump or something. So that's essentially what happens to your blood vessel tissue. It becomes damaged. It becomes thickened, right? So it damages the actual tissue itself. It's not a clogging of sugar. It's that the sugar damages your blood vessel walls. So the tissue that's in there starts to thicken, which leads to a narrowing of your blood vessels.
Is that why diabetics, because my father was a diabetic, and it was very hard for them to take blood because his veins were so small? I thought it was because it was so small, but is that connected?
That would be part of it. Yeah. Narrowing of your blood vessels reduces the blood flow. So yes, it can be harder to take blood. It can be harder for the blood to flow throughout your body. And that is the danger of diabetes, is the narrowing. The high blood sugar levels damages your blood vessel walls, which causes inflammation basically of your blood vessel walls, which causes it to narrow, which reduces the blood flow. All of our body parts need blood flow to function, right?
Yeah.
So when we have this reduced blood flow to certain parts of our body, now we start having other complications in our organs, right? We often hear about people with foot problems when it comes to diabetes, or kidney issues when it comes to diabetes. But that's a lot of that has to do with that. So I'm going to move on to the next slide, which is another image here that kind of gives you an illustration of this reduced blood flow that I'm talking about here. So you look back at the other slide, you see all the buildup of glucose starting to happen in the body. But over time, that damage leads to reduced blood flow. So you see all this tissue here in the blood vessel? That's a thickening of the blood vessel wall. So now you have this more narrow path here for your blood to flow through. Because now all of this is like inflamed tissue, blood vessel tissue around it.
Got it.
So your blood vessel is narrowing. So when you have a narrowing of a blood vessel, again, it restricts the blood flow, like to your feet. Your feet is the farthest away from your heart. Your heart pumps the blood all through your body. And your feet are the farthest away from your heart. So it makes it even harder for someone with diabetes for their blood flow to get to their feet. And then oftentimes it causes nerve damage, that reduced blood flow. Like your nerve starts to shrivel, as you can see here. It damages the nerve, basically, which causes that a diabetic neuropathy across the body, and people have issues feeling anything, for lack of better words, feeling anything. People with diabetic neuropathy have. So this is just one of the conditions that can develop from type 2 diabetes, or diabetes in general. But I just wanted to show this illustration so that people understand that diabetes is caused by increased blood sugar levels. An overflow of sugar in your blood causes your pancreas to develop something called insulin resistance because it cannot produce enough insulin to keep up with the amount of sugar that we have in our body. That sugar in turn damages our blood vessel walls. It causes inflammation of the blood vessel walls, which causes the walls to narrow, which reduces your blood flow through your body. So you think of a straw. We all probably have tried boba or drinking through those really wide straws.
Mm-hmm.
And then you think about a coffee stir straw. Those are really narrow.
Yes.
So you're telling your blood vessels going from a boba straw or wide straw to a coffee stir straw. It's harder for us to drink out of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's harder for your body to push that blood through to all of the organs that need that blood flow to function through this coffee stir straw. So
Right.
that is the dangers of a diabetes, and the high blood sugar levels lead to that. So that's why it's important to monitor our sugar intake and our calorie intake in general.
Awesome. These illustrations and are really wonderful. I see someone else is thinking the same thing from Empower Solano, that these are just excellent illustrations. You make it so easy to understand.
And I think the pictures, they're very important because people, we often think that it's just the sugar that's damaging us. It does. It damages the blood vessel, but then that causes those long-term effects to our other organs because they can't get the nutrients that they need from our blood.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Okay. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the diabetes rates in California. The diabetes and pre-diabetes rates in California, like I mentioned before, like this is an epidemic. Over 55% of people in California have diabetes or pre-diabetes. That's more than half. And it's increased over the last few years. It used to be 30%, and now we're at 55%. And we're on an upward trajectory. And so there's a lot of systemic changes that have to happen as well. When we look at type 2 diabetes being more based on lifestyle and environmental factors, we have our environments that are swarming with fast food establishments, or we have communities or people that live in communities that are unsafe to get outdoors and stay active. And so that's a lot of the work that we focus on in public health is how do we change our places and our spaces to be more conducive to healthy lifestyles.
Right.
Yeah. And so these are here, I'm just sharing some of the California rates of pre-diabetes by race and ethnicity. And usually our communities of color have higher rates of diabetes and pre-diabetes. And I just want to pause right here and talk about the pandemic that we're in right now and looking at the rates of our communities of color that are disproportionately dying from the COVID-19 virus. And a lot of this is due to those pre-existing conditions. So when you think about our communities that are impacted the most by chronic diseases, including diabetes, and the rates of our communities of color that are dying from COVID-19, you can see that direct correlation into why diabetes prevention is so important. For instance, when we get in a pandemic like this, we don't have these people that are more susceptible to adverse outcomes from other conditions or other viruses or diseases that may come about. So there's things that we can do to even prevent being in this high risk category for COVID-19 is in controlling our chronic conditions, our underlying conditions.
Your question speaks directly to one that I was saving for you. I saw in this chat that Sue Brown, my relatives are just all on this chat today. That's my auntie out of Arizona. She says she's been a diabetic for 10 years. Anything special I need to do besides wear a mask on social distance during COVID?
I would just recommend that you do everything you can to manage your chronic condition. And so if your diabetes is managing or taking your medication and you're staying active, and you're eating balanced meals, then your diabetes should be managed at that point. But I just encourage you to maintain those healthy lifestyle practices. And that's just to manage your diabetes. And then with COVID, for sure, you want to wear your mask, wash your hands, and try to, stay out of big crowds for sure.
So it sounds like that based on these rates, the numbers are bad. They're getting worse. More communities of color are diabetic, pre-diabetic, and during COVID, this rallying call is even more urgent. That we have to identify ourselves as diabetic, and those of us that are diabetic, we need to manage our numbers. Is that what we're talking about? Managing our numbers very closely. That means even during the pandemic, we're in purple now. I hear that we're heading toward sheltering in place. And so it's all about eating right while during this pandemic and beyond. It's about walking, exercising. What else would you recommend?
I think knowing your numbers is really important. I think most people don't know what their diabetes status is. They may not get regular checkups. They may not have A1C test, which is basically a glucose screening. It tests how much sugar is in your blood over the last 3 months. So it's a 3-month test is what an A1C test is. So go to your doctor, talk to them like, hey, I want to know what my A1C is, and I want to know what it means. And I'm going to give you all some numbers, log in over here, so that you can know what healthy A1C ranges are. So a normal A1C level, so your blood glucose level, is below 5.7%. So an A1C test is measured in a percentage. So a normal A1C level is below 5.7%. A level of 5.7 to 6.4 indicates pre-diabetes. So if you have an A1C test that's between 5.7 and 6.4, your doctor is going to say, okay, now you are diagnosed with pre-diabetes. Here are the lifestyle changes you need to take to delay the onset of type 2 diabetes or to prevent developing type 2 diabetes. Now, once you reach a level of 6.5% or higher, that's when your doctor is going to diagnose you with diabetes. This is when the medications come in. Now, sometimes your doctor will prescribe you with medications if you have pre-diabetes, and that can just depend on your rate, how quickly you're moving. Your A1C is moving up. So if they just saw you, 6 or 7 months ago, and now your A1C is even higher, they may say, let's start you on some medication so that we can prevent you from getting to that 6.5% so quickly. And so that's just something important to know. They will recommend medication sometimes a little earlier for some people. But if we get on it and we are out there and we're walking every day and we're monitoring our food intake, we can definitely dramatically reduce the chances of preventing diabetes. And so that's why the diabetes prevention program is so effective. It's an evidence-based program, and we offer that to Solano County residents free of charge. It's a year-long program, and it teaches these lifestyle changes. And you go through a year with a cohort of people where you're learning from each other. You're going through every season, every holiday, every up, every down that you could possibly experience in a year, and learning how to adjust your lifestyle to work with these changes that come about in the year, with the goal of preventing diabetes and managing diabetes. These same practices are helpful for people that have diabetes already. It's going to help you have a more controlled condition.
So if you're in Solano County, whether you're pre-diabetic or diabetic, you can join this lifestyle group. So in a team, in a group, you're all working together, encouraging each other. Okay, where do we sign up? Are you going to tell us at the end?
Yeah, I can tell you So the diabetes program is nationwide. It's offered in all communities. You just have to go to Google the National Diabetes Prevention Program, and you can put in your zip code, and you can find a program that's closest to you. Usually these are in person, but right now in the pandemic, they're offering them virtual all over. But for Solano County specifically, this is a partnership between Solano County Public Health and Toro University, California. And so you can visit the Toro University diabetes prevention page. If you just Google that, it'll come up, the registration, or you can reach out to me, Kirbee Brooks, and I'll, in a couple slides here, I'll have my contact information, and I can go ahead and get you registered. Or you can visit vibesolano.com/classes to view our class page, and you can see all of the classes that we offer to the community free of charge. And that way you can go ahead and get registered for the diabetes prevention program. I do have a couple more things I want to touch on. Patrice, is that okay? I have a little bit more time.
Yes.
Okay. And so again, here, this information is just showing the Solano County pre-diabetes rates. So we talked about the diabetes rates before, and here this just is kind of a breakdown by age and showing how Solano County compares to the state average, the California state average. Okay.
Can I see that again?
I'm sorry?
Can I see that again? How are we doing compared to national?
When you see for ages 18 to 39, we're right behind the state average. So we're almost there. We're not above them yet, but we're very, very close to the state average. And that says a lot because Solano County is a small county, right? Same thing with ages 40 to 54. We're running neck and neck with the state average. But here, for our older adults, we're a little bit above the state average here. For 55 to 69, I should say. Those are not older adults, excuse me. 55 to 69. We're in this age category here, we're a little bit above the state average. So, this would definitely be one of our, target populations. And then when you look at adults older than 70 years old, we're not that far from the state average, but we're below the state average.
Okay. I see us through your work, Kirbee. I think we're going to rev up Solano County residents, and we're going to get these numbers going down.
I think so. We have so many empowered community advocates, including yourself, who are so passionate about this work and about families and living healthy lives to the best of their extent. And I think if we all are active in making changes in our community, I definitely see us in there. I'm confident.
Me too.
Yeah. So just really quickly, I wanted to talk about some of these risk factors for developing type 2 diabetes. So again, we talked about prediabetes is a risk factor for developing type 2 diabetes. If you're overweight, if you're 45 years of age or older, if you have a parent, brother, or sister with type 2 diabetes, if you're physically active less than 3 times a week, this is really important. The CDC recommends that we have 150 minutes of physical activity a week, and this is to maintain our health. But for the most benefit, it's recommended that we get at least 300 minutes of physical activity a week. This is not a day, but in a week. So you can spread that 300 minutes out throughout the week, okay? So physical activity is very, very important for managing diabetes and any other chronic disease like hypertension. Again, another risk factor, we talked about gestational diabetes. And here we specify the weight of a baby that's more than 9 pounds. And then lastly, our communities of color. If we're African American, Hispanic, Latino, American Indian, Alaska Native, and some Pacific Islanders and Asian Americans are also at higher risk for developing type 2 diabetes.
Kirbee, is it because of what we're eating?
I think it largely has a lot to do with that, as well as genetics, and which is why we have to work even harder due to our genetics to have these healthy lifestyle, um, to practice a healthy lifestyle to kind of counteract our genetics. And our genes are beautiful, and we have our cultural practices and our foods that we like to eat. And I never tell people that we have to stop doing that. I think everything in moderation and balance, and increasing that physical activity on the days that we're going to have a little bit extra, right? Especially in the holiday season, I always encourage people, hey, get your family together, go for a walk after dinner or before Thanksgiving. Encourage families to sign up for turkey trot. Every community, there's a turkey trot. Let's all go and participate in that. You don't have to run, you can walk, you can bike in your community. I always encourage more physical activity on those days that we're going to have a little bit extra, especially during this holiday season. But yeah, I will say it has a lot to do with our cultural practices, but also our genetics.
Got it.
And then I talked about already our diabetes screening, and your A1C test, and the levels that the numbers we should be working towards. So if we have diabetes, we want to be working to get our A1C below 5.7 to have a normal A1C test, basically.
Got it.
Yeah. Okay. And then just really quickly, I wanted to share that Solano County has their most recent community health needs assessment. That data should be coming out very soon. But I wanted to show here that one of the community's priorities, the number 7 priority, was healthy eating and active living. So I just wanted to say that we in Solano County are really committed to promoting healthy eating and active living, which in turn is going to impact our chronic disease numbers and bring those rates of chronic diseases, including diabetes, hypertension, down to the lower numbers that we need to have a thriving community. And people can take the diabetes risk test. We talked about knowing your numbers. You can take the diabetes risk test to see what your risk is for developing diabetes or prediabetes. It's just a online form. You can Google diabetes risk test, and it's going to pop up the first advertisement that you see popped up, diabetes risk test, and you just click through and answer the questions, and it will tell you what your risk is. It'll tally up a number score for you at the bottom, and it'll tell you what's your risk for developing diabetes, as well as giving you some more information on how you can prevent developing diabetes and prediabetes. One thing I always want to tell people is you can live a healthy life with diabetes. Even if you've already been diagnosed with diabetes, you can't reverse diabetes. I want to say that first, because what we talked about earlier, the sugar causes the damage. So no, we can't flush the sugar out. The sugar damages the blood vessels, which is why I say you can't reverse diabetes. You can't reverse the damage that diabetes has done already. But it is very possible for people to stop taking medications, with their doctor's approval, if your A1C is in a normal range. And so you may still have a diagnosis of diabetes, but you can live a perfectly healthy life with diabetes as long as your condition is managed. And that is totally possible with healthy lifestyle changes. And this differs per person, so you always want to stay in communication with your healthcare provider. And I just wanted to share some resources in Solano County. I talked already about the diabetes prevention program and this class that we have available free of charge. This is available in all communities. So again, you just want to look up National Diabetes Prevention Program, and a program in your area will pop up for you. But in Solano County, you can also call or text 707-563-1607 to find out about the next class available in Solano and to get registered.
Oh, nice. You can text as well, huh?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay. Who's going to reserve their spot? This is great.
Yeah. Reserve your spot. It's a cohort. So again, you're going to go through this class with a group of people, and it's an evidence-based class. So it's proven to work.
Nice.
It's all across the nation right now.
Nice.
And then also in Solano, I just wanted to share because I talked a lot about hypertension as well as diabetes, because oftentimes those two exist together. And I hope that now that we've seen that illustration of the narrowing of the blood vessels, um, that that it may be more understandable why hypertension exists very commonly with diabetes because of that narrowing of the blood vessels. Um, it it
Oh,
blood pressure, your like I said, your body has to work harder to get that blood through those coffee stir straws, right? Which increases your blood pressure because your heart is working overtime to try to pump that blood through your body. So it raises your blood pressure, right? So
nice.
I hope that that makes sense. But I just wanted to let people know that we have this resource available to check out a blood pressure kit from your local library in Solano County. You can take home a blood pressure monitor and a kit with all of the health education information so you can monitor your blood pressure at home.
Wait, is this a loaner?
It is. It's a loaner program.
Oh, so you have to bring it back.
You bring it back, yep. But if you need to borrow it for an extended amount of time, that's fine. You can just check it out for longer. Just let your local library know.
Oh,
We
what if
just
I
try
want to check it out for 2 years?
well, if you need to check it out for 2 years, come and see me, and we can figure out how to get you a blood pressure for home.
Okay.
Yes, because this is something that I'm really passionate about is people knowing their numbers. So, and if you need to monitor your blood pressure for a longer period of time, if you have a diagnosis of hypertension, then we got to find a way to make sure you have something at home.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Okay. All right. So that is all of the information I had to share for today. Of course, there's probably so much more, but if there's any questions, I'm happy to take them.
Let's see. I see. Oh, Krista. Krista says great information. Um, Aunt Sue says the earlier you're aware of symptoms and get diagnosed, the better you can manage diabetes.
Absolutely.
That is wonderful. I see a heart from my friend Debbie Lamb. Hi, Debbie. How are you? See if I've missed anything. Well, I'm going backwards in the feed. If you all have any questions for Kirbee, just go ahead and post. Yeah, the good news is we kind of as we go along, I bring them up so that way we're not too
Okay.
far behind.
Okay.
Hi, Sylvanius. He is saying thank you for the information. And I have a feeling we'll wait for a few more questions, but I have a feeling that's a lot of people are just taking in this great information. And then I had on my notepad from the American Diabetes Association. I started doing some advocacy work with them and going to Congress to advocate for diabetics and insulin, reduced cost insulin and that type of thing. The American Diabetes Association, Your Rights, One Voice. I love them.
Yeah.
And you've hit a lot of my questions about resources. I loved your answer about resources, but now for of those of us in the community that don't have health care, like you're listening to this presentation, you're like, I don't have health care. Can they go to the one of the clinics in Solano County? What do people do if they don't have health care right now?
Yeah, that's a really, really important question. And our public health clinics across Solano County, they're public health, so they're to serve people that don't have private health care insurance. And if you don't even know where to start, just come to one of the clinics and we can help you find some type of coverage and to get treatment. Um, so just start there at least with having healthcare coverage because we have partners like Partnership Health Plan in Solano. There's different options for coverage for our people that may be lower income. And also our communities, our undocumented communities in Solano. I just want to say that it's safe for these communities to come to Solano Public Health without any fear of, without having any fears that we're facing in the world right now. Solano County is a safe space for even our undocumented communities. And we're here to help. And like I said, my contact information is here as well. And I'm happy to share any resources or point people in the right direction. And as far as like getting your test, our mobile diabetes education center through Toro University, they offer free diabetes screening. So they'll do your free diabetes A1C test, meaning you don't have to go into a doctor's office, and they just pop up across the county. So if you visit torouniversity.com/MOBEC, MOBEC, you can find out where the next time the diabetes center will be out in Solano County. And that way you can go and get your diabetes screening. And they also can share information with you about how to get coverage. And so the MOBEC goes out into our most vulnerable communities and our vulnerable areas, and areas where they may not have as easy as access to healthcare to provide that resource.
Yes, I've seen the MOBEC, and by the way, everyone, I'm posting these links, these resource links in the chat. But I've seen MOBEC at community engagement events throughout the county. They do a really great job. Actually, I even saw a picture where they were at an event and they had people out in the front. They were doing a whole little exercise dance class. Yep. They were having a good time.
Yep. Yeah, it's all part of it. Making lifestyle changes can be fun. It doesn't have to be boring. You know, you have to find something that suits you. I have this dance video that I do at night. It's nighttime and I feel like dancing, and I have this workout video and I turn it on and I do it because I like the music, you know, but that's my physical activity. So you really have to find something that works for you and that fits your interests. And that is how you make something a true lifestyle change, something that you enjoy. Don't do something painstaking. Just do something that you enjoy. That's fun.
I love it. Okay. Do you have any final words for us? I will tell you, my final word is that I feel very encouraged. I feel informed. I feel revved up. I'm going to look at your resources, and through my network, if anyone wants to join my, I'm going to be on a mission to get, make these healthy lifestyle changes. I've already lost 7 pounds, but I'm going to get more fit, more active. I'm going to make cooking fun. And through this pandemic, like, you know, that's no excuse. I'm going to get out there safely. If anyone wants to join me, I'll be releasing something soon. While you were talking, Kirbee, I was setting up my Fitness Pal. So,
all right,
yeah, that's a good one.
That's a good one. My Fitness Pal. I use My Fitness Pal to track my food.
Well, I want to connect with as many people as possible so we can so we don't feel so isolated and so alone. So I'm going to put in my username for my fitness pal. If anybody else is on it and wants to connect with me, we can be Fitness Pal buddies. And Kirbee, if you want to do yours, you just let me know and you put it in a private chat and I'll put it out here. Or if you want to keep it private.
No, I like the accountability.
Yeah, I can say I'm gonna find you, whether you give it to me or not.
I like the accountability. Let's do
it. And we're just gonna find a way to do this thing together.
Okay,
yours, Kirbee.
It's better together.
I like that. It's better together. Okay, I'm gonna put yours in, and then I like that. It's better. Kirbee, I think you just came up with a tagline. There we are. It's better together.
Mhm.
And if you want to connect with Kirbee on My Fitness Pal, that is all her personal business to connect her.
Accountability.
Accountability. And there is mine, K. Patrice Williams, one. Obviously, the original K. Patrice Williams is me, and I forgot my username and password, so I had to create another one. But that's all right. And it's better together. Do you have any final words
I
for
just
the audience?
I just encourage people to stay positive and stay motivated to control and manage your health conditions, because a lot of the things that we experience can be prevented. And I just want to be clear that this is not self blame. A lot of our communities are not constructed for us to live these healthy, thriving lifestyles. And so that has been my personal career commitment, is to help build healthier and communities where people can thrive. Um, but just stay encouraged that we can live healthy lives and we are better together.
We're better together.
Mhm.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. It's been, again, it's been a lot of, oh, there we are. So we could see you real good. Sorry about that. I should have done that before, while you were wrapping up, so people can really see you and all your beauty.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, I'm going to put you back in the virtual green room and sign off to the audience.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Have a good day, everyone.
Well, that was Kirbee Brooks. If you thought that was an amazing program like I did, I want you to put it in the chat. I want you to share. I want you to like. We are on various platforms. I am K. Patrice is how you can find us. We are also going to be increasing our platforms to podcasts. Can you believe it? So we're going to go from live stream to podcast, and we'll be on all of your favorite podcast systems. So that way you can follow us in the car and wherever you are. So I want to tell you about tomorrow. Tomorrow we have Dr. Shandy Fuller. She is with Solano County, and she is going to come on and talk to us about Solano Heals tomorrow. It is all about Black infant death prevention. And she is going to give us more information about that. Oh, by the way, Lisa is on our private chat, and she's telling me to remind you that Kirbee is coming back on. Matter of fact, we're going to bring her back on right quick. Hold on. Kirbee.
Yes.
What are you going to tell us about next year? You're going to come back in January, right?
January, the beginning of the year, new beginnings. Let's talk about making those healthy lifestyle changes.
Okay. Were you going to talk to us about tobacco prevention too?
Yes, tobacco prevention. That is one of the things that we can do to change our lifestyle habits. And so, and we're really going to look at the equity piece too. I want to talk a lot about health equity and the health inequities that currently exist in our communities and what we can do to make those changes.
Okay. And, people are going to ask you with tobacco prevention, are you also talking about, smoking marijuana? Like, is there a difference? People are going to ask you that.
I'm sure they're going to ask. Yeah, we can get into the nitty gritty if you want. Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so we have you committed for January.
That's right.
Okay. All right. I'm going to put you back in the green room.
Okay.
Okay, so we got a commitment. How about that? For Kirbee Brooks, she is coming back in January, and she is going to talk more about the inequities in healthcare, and she's going to give us some word about tobacco prevention. So that is it. If you want this to continue on, I want you to share and like. Let's increase our reach all throughout Solano County, the Bay Area, and through your communities. With that, I will see you tomorrow. Goodbye.